McCain's progressive tendencies had me searching for another candidate. And how many times did I take calls from people on the radio leading up to the presidential election that warned me, don't vote for a third party. You're throwing away your vote. It's time. If you vote for a third party, you'll be voting for Obama. I heard it time and time again. And you know what? I believed it for the last time. I'm the one throwing away my vote? Really? Really? That's the problem? I'm your problem. You're totally cool as long as a conservative voting for an acorn-supported, stimulus-backing, pro-choice Republican who's endorsed by the founder of the liberal blog Daily Kos. You're fine with that. I'm the problem. If this is what Lindsey Graham means by expanding the party, don't count me in.
Respond to people who say, oh, you might throw the election to King George II. Well, how different is he from...
We're seeing, Jerry, more and more of this phenomenon across the country where, let's say, a conservative Republican runs against a traditional Republican or a protesting Republican against the party establishment Republican. And what they end up doing is dividing the votes, and the opposition party waltzes right in. What do you think of that?
Let's take a look at this slightly differently, Neil. This is sort of a Washington way of looking at things. This is a horse race, and I know that's really great for television, and it's great for a lot of the pundits, but for those of us who stand for the principles of the party that we think the party ought to stand for, we want to talk about the substance of the issues. On the New York 23 race, the Doug Hoffman versus Dede Scozzafava race, Bill Owen is the Democrat, by the way, of course. You cannot call her an establishment conservative. I was trying to choke back. You're speaking of whether or not the conservatives here are the spoilers. You know, I hope we are the spoilers if we're going to spoil someone like Dede Scozzafava's record. For goodness sake,
if I wake up, who says I'm going to sleep? And see George Bush as the next president of the United States because I tipped 6 states in his favor. I would say to myself that Al Gore tipped many more than 6 states in George W. Bush's favor. Al Gore should win this election against the bumbling governor from Texas in this terrible record. Only Al Gore can really beat Al Gore. If George W. Bush is elected, I would be disappointed. If Al Gore is elected, I would be disappointed because they're really racing for the White House to see who takes the marching orders from their corporate paymasters and the corporate permanent government in Washington.
Governor Sarah Palin, in a flash, Governor Palin just put the eyes of the country on a congressional race in New York. This is a stunner in every way. Governor Palin just endorsed Doug Hoffman in the special election for New York's 23rd congressional district seat. Why is that a stunner? Well, Hoffman is a member of the Conservative Party. Governor Palin endorsed Hoffman and not the Republican candidate. Believe it or not, this one does get hotter. The endorsement puts Governor Palin in a head-to-head battle with another conservative powerhouse, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. He endorsed the Republican candidate. Governor Palin writes on her Facebook page in part, Doug Hoffman has not been anointed by any political machine. Doug Hoffman stands for the principles that all Republicans should share. Unfortunately, the Republican Party today has decided to choose a candidate that more than blurs the lines, and there's no real difference between the Democrat and the Republican in this race.
Now, some of you are wondering, why have I chosen to spend the first few minutes talking about George W. Bush? Well, that's because most of us have received a lot of phone calls and emails from our friends and family across the country this week wondering what the hell are we doing on Tuesday? And I just have to say, look, you know, I understand when someone's afraid. Fear is a horrible thing. It's a thing that grips you, and you end up making decisions that you are going to regret later because you operate from fear. And I have not called a single Gore voter this week to say, why are you voting for a man who, as part of this administration, is responsible for 1 million more people sitting in prisons tonight than were in prison during the Reagan-Bush years? I'm not asking you, why are you voting for a man who helped to dismantle our welfare programs and who have put the poor in this country in such a position that they may never recover. And you know, if you don't win, Mr. Gore, on Tuesday, it won't be because of Ralph Nader. It will be because of you. because of you and Mr. Clinton, because of what you've done to all these people here who are upset and angry and disenfranchised and dispossessed. You have put George Bush in the White House. You are responsible. We are the people who have spent 8 years trying to undo the damage that many of us did in 1992 when we voted for Clinton and Gore because it was the lesser of two evils. And what did we get when we voted for the lesser of two evils? We got evil. We still got evil.